G'day, it's Toppy here. I'm sitting at the table with a lap full of cat and a cutting mat full of 1mm plasticard covered in exciting looking lines that I've drawn on with my pencil and ruler, because today we are going to build a tiny spaceship. So before the cat tries to make a cameo appearance, I'm going to use the magic of editing to cut everything out. And editing had been occurred. Okay, so let's put the knife away for the moment. The next thing we're going to do is use this. This is interrupted by my cat. Hello cat, do you want to make a cameo? Cat. Yes. You want to help, or are you just going to get in the way? Get in the way, fair enough. Off you go. Okay, we're going to use this, which is a Plastic Scriber 2 from Cameo. Looks kind of like a conventional extendy blade craft knife, except it's got this blade, and we use it for scribing panel lines, surprisingly. We're going to be scribing quite a few of those on here. I'll do most of these off camera, but just so you can see how it works, I'll start with this one here. Just get my ruler lined up. There we go. And we use it much the same as we would with a knife. Give it 2 passes. And you can see that is the burr that is pulled out. And it's left us, don't know how well this will pick up on camera, but it's left us a nicely scribed panel line. And yes, I did accidentally cut through the center line when I shouldn't have. Well, I'm going to scribe the rest of these, and there's going to be more magical editing. Ooh, editing. Went slightly Homer Simpson there. An edit occurred. Okay, all of the scribing is done. Hopefully that shows up on camera. Time to sand everything back a little bit, because whenever you scribe or whenever you cut things, little burrs will start appearing. So I've got a fresh emery board here. I'm just going to give that a little bit of a rub. Now, this is just a standard emery stick from a supermarket, the kind you do your nails with. We need to make sure we also just hit the insides of these, just to square up the edges a bit. I'll need to go back when I'm off camera to make that a bit more accurate, but you get the picture. I'm just going to rub everything down, run my fingernails through the scribed lines just to clear out any dust in there, and I'll be back when that's done. Well, as the cat meows at us from another room. No, he seems to have calmed down. Oh, no, there he goes. He only meows when I'm talking. As the cat meows at us from another room, I've cut out some blanking panels to go behind the cutouts. I've finished sanding everything. Everything looks a little duller now because I've knocked a lot of the shine off. This panel had a little bit of an accident when I cut it out, so fortunately a blanking panel is going in behind there. I'm going to make it a little bigger and then trim it down. Now I've got my delightful Revel Contactor Professional, the choice of champions, and you'll notice it has one of the greatest tools in the model builder's arsenal. This is the wire tie from freezer bags. You just sort of strip the outer sheath off. It's the perfect size to fit down the inside of one of these needles, and it stops it from clogging up. So we're just going to glue these panels on the back. I don't think you need to sit here and watch the entire process. I think you know how glue works. I forgot to mention these panels. This is, I think it's called novelty siding. It's evergreen styrene, like all the plasticard I use. It's meant to look like weatherboard. Weatherboard's not the right word, but it's one of those various strange textured planky things that people have on the sides of their houses. And when you slick it in like this and use it as a backing panel, it's got a cool texture, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, we're ready to start some assembly now. So I have got a few things here. I've got some bits of square plastic. Those are going to be used for reinforcing, and I've also got some reinforcing panels that are going to be glued in later. You'll probably also notice that I've glued some strips onto those pieces there. Those are to hold that panel in the correct alignment because it's actually going to be recessed. So we're going to start off with gluing this piece to this piece. I've got my ruler here because when I am gluing plastic pieces together, I like to actually have them sitting on a steel ruler because the glue won't actually glue to the steel ruler. And that means that I've got a nice flat surface so I can make sure everything's joined up nice and smoothly, and we've got good joints, good butt joints there, without worrying about things gluing to other things. They're just putting that little chunk in there as a reinforcement. Now you might think you might be able to glue directly onto the mat, but I've found plastic glue and these rubber self-healing mats do sometimes argue with one another, so I always use the steel ruler. Alright, the second panel's going on. Nice bead of glue there. More reinforcement. Yep, good reinforcement block in there. Just fiddle with the alignment slightly. Make sure everything's nice and even. Good. So now I'm going to take this piece and glue it in along here to provide some reinforcement. And it's a thinner plasticard. It's 1/2 millimeter rather than millimeter. I've scribed it and pre-bent it so it'll hold its shape, and will go in there to hold that nice and steady. And now that I've got things actually attached, just put a little more glue into all the joins. And then the process is pretty much going to repeat with the other side and the side panels and all that sort of exciting stuff. But we don't really need to see that, so we might cut ahead. Editing time! Bamf. Ooh, that was a preemptive bamf that time. Bamf before the edit. Gonna stick on the top piece now. And as always, no plan quite survives contact with reality, so I forgot to trim the ends of those support pieces. Luckily, not glued on very hard, so I was able to take those off, because of course those support pieces are going to interfere with the sides here whenever it gets glued on top. So let's convince the glue to flow. There it is. Pop this on, get everything nicely square and lined up. In every conceivable direction, including the ill-conceived ones. And a little bit more glue. A few spots. Now it's not reinforced in the center, so it is going to bend and flex a bit in there, but I'm going to be putting external reinforcing. You'll also notice that my scribe marks haven't lined up very well at the bottom. Well, this one hasn't. The others aren't too bad. I'll put some plating over that to hide it, but I need to leave this to dry for quite a while to get ready for plating and detailing, and I should probably go and rummage through the kit stash and find some cool pieces to stick to it. So we're going to pause it for the moment and go and do other stuff. Except you're not, because, you know, editing's a thing. Ooh, editing. I do love editing. Alright, well, the basic shape's finished, and as with any plasticard modelling endeavour, there's going to be a few gaps, and there's going to be a few things that haven't lined up exactly perfectly, so I'm going to need to add some putty, and I'm going to need to sand a few things back. So this is Green Stuff World's acrylic modelling putty. I've rolled the tube over, so I can't remember exactly what it's called. I think it's just green putty. A few gaps that I'm going to be applying that into. I'm going to use an old knife to help smooth that in. And once it's dry, we'll be able to sand this back. There's a few other bits and pieces that need sanding. And we'll be able to start detailing. Spread that a little bit. There's not much point you watching all of this, so we're going to use the magic of editing once again. Well, here we are. It's Sunday morning. It's nearly 9 o'clock. We started working on this. Well, I started working on this yesterday, Saturday. Somewhere between 2 and 3. I didn't actually check the time. This has been left to set up overnight. I have already sanded it back. I like using the Green Stuff World green putty because it's really obvious. It's really easy to spot because it's green. So you can see that I've actually filled all of those gaps in there. There's a little bit still there. That's probably going to get covered by some greebles anyway. Some of the engraving doesn't really line up properly, but I'll hide that somehow. Particularly badly aligned on the bottom, but I've got a plan for that. So now that our structure is finished, we can get on to the really exciting bit. We're going to start greeblification. So a greeble, if you aren't aware, is a small piece taken from a kit and glued onto a model to make it look exciting. It's a term that I think was originally coined by the model makers at Industrial Line Magic working on Star Wars, but I could well be wrong there. Also, there's different terms. Some people call them nernies. The digital CGI modelling crowd seems to have settled on greeblies. I've always used greeblies, but I've heard nernies. So I've got various parts here. Pretty recently I went to Model Expo 2026, Sandown Racecourse in Melbourne, and I went to the Buy Swap Sell for the first time, and I spent about $200 buying cheap second-hand tank kits. I got about 6 tanks and a couple of ships. And I bought those entirely to get greebles. So these are bits from an Italeri Leopard 2, I think. Well, an Italeri Leopard of some sort anyway, you know, modern German tank. They're going to be useful. I've got, this is a road wheel from the Leopard. I'm going to try and mostly use stuff from the Leopard. Bit of an engine from a Academy fighter of some sort. And here we have a whole stack of exciting sprues covered in random bits and pieces, 1/76th scale mostly, because that's a good scale for greebles. It's nice and small. So I am going to start cutting these things up and sticking them down in exciting patterns. After I've done that, I will go back and add some hull plating. I want to put the major greebles in first, then I might be doing some hull plating. So the magic of editing is about to kick in, and then we'll go through and we'll look at what greebles I've used. So this is what things look like when I'm not filming and I'm not bothering to keep everything nice and tidy. Well, here we are. It's about 4 o'clock on Sunday, and greeblification's basically complete. It's not absolutely complete, but I need to do some more plating before I add some more greebles on top of things, and my cat needs to say hello. So I'm going to film right now. The cat might make a cameo. He's heading in this direction. So these are cut from the skirt armour for the Leopard that I showed before. So with these, I've trimmed a few bits off and moved them around. Anything in this dark green colour comes from the Leopard. This slightly lighter green comes from... It's my cat trying to jump onto the modelling table and missing. Slightly uncoordinated, this cat. The lighter green comes from an Academy kit. I think it's a M551 Sheridan, something along those lines. These are 176 scale tank tracks. These are also 176 scale tank, different tank. Hello Pluto, just so you've decided to make a cameo. So this is a cat, 1:1 scale. He's currently trying to eat part of the camera. I might just move the 1:1 scale cat model. Come on Pluto. Good boy. Okay, where was I? Yeah. Oh, these are from a 1/72 scale Churchill, I think. Thought they were cool. And I've added a whole lot of interesting stuff in the nose. Can't remember exactly where all this comes from. That colour yellow is from an Academy tank kit of some sort. I'm not sure, can't remember what it was. 176 scale tank, 176 scale tank there. These little bits that look like pipes actually were cut off the sides of the leopard skirt armour. I thought they looked pretty cool. And then the engine is made from, I'm not entirely sure what this is. This is the rest of it. This is in the leopard. And it's a piece that's not used in that variant. So it's just got a cross through it on the sprue diagram. It doesn't explain what it is. I think it's some sort of breathing snorkel or something like that. Anyway, great size tube that interfaces really nicely with a wheel. Goes in there, makes a nice engine-y looking thing. Can't remember exactly what that's from. 1/35 scale tank of some sort. Fits perfectly inside the wheels from a leopard. So I'm going to be adding some hull plating to this. There'll be some other greeblies going on top of bits of hull plating. Greeblies going on top of bits of hull plating, and then it's going to be ready to paint. So I'm going to start adding some plating from 0.5mm plasticard, and I'll see you on the other side of that. It's about 8:30 on Sunday now, 8:30 PM, and we're finished. With one small exception. There's a couple of antennas are going to go in there. I don't want to add them until after painting is done because they'll be a bit fragile. So I've added some plating, I've added a few more greebles. I've done some things like build this radar communication dish array thing out of many exciting pieces. Added some half bombs every now and then for streamlined stuff. I've finished off the engine, and at this point I'm saying that this model is finished and it's time to paint.